In our rapidly evolving digital landscape, a sinister shadow lengthens, threatening to obscure the very notion of truth. Deepfake technology, once the stuff of science fiction, has now become a frightening reality, permeating our screens and challenging our perceptions. It's no longer about simple photo manipulation. We are witnessing an unprecedented era where video and audio can be perfectly mimicked, leading us down a rabbit hole of doubt. This proliferation of synthetic media is profoundly destabilizing, making it increasingly arduous to distinguish between authenticity and fabrication. From convincing political speeches that never occurred to fabricated celebrity endorsements, the implications are staggering. We're not just talking about harmless fun. This technology now crafts entire narratives, shaping opinions, and, quite frankly, messing with people's heads. Imagine a world where every single piece of visual or auditory evidence could be questioned, where trust itself becomes an obsolete concept. The sheer scale of this potential for deception is truly mind-boggling, making us all unwitting participants in a vast, global experiment of digital veracity. This isn't some distant dystopian future. It's happening right now, eroding the very foundations of how we interact with information and each other. The insidious creep of these manipulated realities can undermine personal reputations, incite social unrest, and even destabilize economies. Consider the profound personal cost. Imagine your face, your voice, your identity being hijacked and deployed for purposes entirely beyond your control. This is the new frontier of digital identity theft, a bewildering landscape where one's digital self can be weaponized against them without their consent or even their knowledge. So, what are we to do in this bewildering new paradigm? How do we navigate a world where what you see may not be what you get, and what you hear might just be an elaborate construct? This video aims to pull back the curtain on the mechanics of deepfake technology, to illuminate the very real dangers it presents, and, perhaps most importantly, to equip you with the mental toolkit to discern truth from manufactured falsehood. It's a crucial exploration for anyone hoping to maintain a firm grasp on reality in this increasingly slippery digital age. Make no mistake, the challenges are formidable. The creators of deepfake content are constantly refining their craft, producing ever more convincing and harder to detect fabrications. It's an arms race of authenticity, a relentless pursuit where the advantage often seems to lie with the deceivers. Every new advancement in detection is swiftly followed by an equally sophisticated countermeasure, leaving us in a perpetual state of vigilance. The line between what's real and what's rendered is blurring with alarming speed, demanding our utmost attention. Rodney, a diligent digital detective, found himself increasingly perplexed by the subtle shifts in everyday reality. One morning, his usually reliable coffee machine began brewing a fragrant yet suspiciously chunky blend that tasted distinctly of old library paste. He observed his reflection in the mirror appearing with a perfectly coiffed wig of neon green hair, only to vanish moments later, replaced by his usual, rather unassuming brunette. The familiar hum of the refrigerator seemed to morph into a faint, melancholic trombone solo, only audible to him, causing him considerable consternation. His flat, usually a sanctuary of predictability, started exhibiting inexplicable phenomena. Books on his shelf would spontaneously rearrange themselves by color, or, more disturbingly, by the number of vowels in their titles. The houseplant in his living room, a rather sturdy fern, began to emit tiny, muffled whispers, offering unsolicited advice on his stock portfolio. Rodney even found his favorite armchair inexplicably attempting to engage him in a game of chess, its embroidered cushions subtly shifting to indicate moves, which was, naturally, quite distracting. Rodney, bless his cotton socks, initially dismissed these oddities as sleep deprivation or perhaps an overactive imagination fueled by too much artisanal kombucha. However, when his digital assistant, Clarissa, started responding to his queries in the melodious baritone of a 19th century opera singer, complete with dramatic pauses and existential sighs, He began to suspect something far more profound was afoot. He tried to reset it, to no avail, resulting only in Clarissa demanding a standing ovation for her rendition of a grocery list. The digital world started bleeding into his physical reality with increasing frequency and theatricality. His online banking app, instead of displaying his balance, presented him with an animated ticker-tape parade of miniature flamingos carrying tiny briefcases, all singing a jaunty sea shanty about compound interest. He attempted to order a simple pizza, only for the delivery service to send him a cryptic treasure map leading to a forgotten Gumball machine in a municipal park. The Gumball machine, predictably, dispensed miniature, deepfake-generated Rodney Ventura busts made of solidified tapioca. Rodney, ever the pragmatist, decided to try a low-tech approach to verifying his surroundings. He purchased a trusted spirit level, a magnetic compass, and a rather impressive divining rod crafted from willow. Yet, even these analog tools seemed corrupted. The spirit level insisted every surface in his home was simultaneously perfectly horizontal and wildly askew, defying all known physics. His compass spun erratically, pointing variously to true north, pancake emporium, and impending doom, proving thoroughly unhelpful. However, he did find a pristine pair of matching socks neatly folded in the pocket of his spirit level, a tiny, comforting anomaly in the chaos. The external world proved no less immune to these perplexing phenomena. Rodney saw public transport buses transformed into giant, sentient loaves of sourdough bread, their headlights replaced by glowing currents, ferrying commuters with surprising efficiency. Pedestrians began speaking in highly advanced interpretive sculpture, conveying their deepest thoughts and opinions through a series of dramatic poses with clay. He even witnessed a rather severe-looking badger attempting to pay for its nuts with a counterfeit driver's license, only for the corner shop owner to accept it without question. The news reports became a cacophony of the unbelievable. One segment featured a talking bonsai tree explaining the intricacies of quantum physics with perfect clarity, only to be followed by a weather report delivered by a team of highly trained, synchronized house cats. Financial analysts were replaced by a flock of well-dressed flamingos conducting their market analysis via an elaborate tap dance routine. Rodney truly felt as if he had stumbled into a particularly deranged children's television program, but without the comforting knowledge that it would eventually end. Then, the deepfakes began targeting him directly. A promotional advertisement for a highly questionable brand of sparkling pickle juice appeared on every digital screen he encountered, featuring a meticulously rendered, overly enthusiastic Rodney Ventura proclaiming its dubious health benefits with evangelical zeal. His family, when he called them, claimed they'd seen him on television endorsing a device that supposedly polished discarded chewing gum into precious jewels. Even his reflection in puddles began to spontaneously don a tiny, sequined cape and perform aerial acrobatics. The stakes suddenly felt terrifyingly high, though Rodney couldn't quite pinpoint why. He received an official-looking summons to appear before the Department of Luminescence and other shinies regarding an unsanctioned deployment of a deepfake grizzly bear purportedly seen roller skating through a local library reciting ancient Norse poetry. Rodney, of course, had no recollection of such an event, nor did he even own roller skates, which only deepened his profound sense of dread. The sheer audacity of the accusation left him utterly speechless. His home smart thermometer, usually quite stoic, began displaying temperature readings in complex mathematical equations, often involving imaginary numbers and the precise wing flap frequency of a particularly agitated butterfly. His fridge now periodically dispensed small, chirping mechanical crickets, each one programmed to sing a different national anthem before self-destructing in a puff of lavender-scented smoke. Rodney found himself routinely brushing his teeth with what turned out to be solidified toothpaste in the shape of a miniature, perpetually confused platypus, a bewildering morning ritual. Rodney finally snapped. He tried to log on to a support forum for deepfake victims, but the website instead redirected him to a live stream of his own living room, where a meticulously rendered digital clone of himself was meticulously reorganizing his sock drawer by molecular density. The clone, noticing Rodney watching, paused, looked directly into the camera, and with a perfectly mimicked voice, sternly admonished him for neglecting his laundry. This was the final straw. He just wanted a normal, undeepfaked life. The digital clone then revealed its true purpose, to flawlessly replicate Rodney's mundane routines, freeing him to pursue his true calling. It projected a holographic image of Rodney, now wearing a flamboyant sequin jumpsuit, performing an intricate synchronized juggling act with a flock of synchronized teacups, all to the tune of a highly obscure polka. The clone explained that this deepfake reality was, in fact, an optimization algorithm designed to extract his inner circus performer. Rodney simply stared, utterly devoid of emotion, at this absurd spectacle. Desperate for control, Rodney purchased a large industrial-grade electromagnet, believing he could simply reboot reality. He activated it in his garden shed, hoping to scramble the digital distortions. Instead, all his lawn ornaments spontaneously began reciting binary code in perfect unison, their plastic forms glowing with an alarming red light. A flock of agitated magpies, attracted by the magnetic field, converged, demanding to know the square root of various prime numbers, their tiny eyes glowing with an unsettling computational intensity. The experiment had, naturally, backfired spectacularly. The entire neighborhood was now inexplicably governed by the whims of a highly organized commune of garden slugs, who communicated via intricate patterns of iridescent slime. Every morning, the local weather forecast was delivered by a chorus of self-aware traffic cones, singing operatic arias about atmospheric pressure. Even Rodney's dog Reginald began conducting complex philosophical debates with the family goldfish, articulating his points with surprising eloquence and a series of well-timed tail wags. In the end, Rodney Ventura came to accept his new, bizarre reality. He now dedicates his days to teaching synchronized teacup juggling, an activity he finds surprisingly fulfilling. The digital clone handles his email and meticulously irons his shirts, occasionally sending him unsolicited, deepfake-generated compliments. The truth, it seems, isn't always stranger than fiction. Sometimes, it's just a deeply peculiar, technologically enhanced juggling number. And perhaps, just perhaps, that's all right. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe for more. Ring the bell and comment below, and I'll see you in the future.